Hello everyone, good afternoon. Today our group wants to introduce you fourth an automated way to study a team's rest defense performance in football transitions. The coaching staff spend a lot of time trolling through video footage, which is a time-consuming, tedious, repetitive, and subjective task to do before each upcoming match. Maybe they enjoy this process and they say it's fine, but we want to, let's see how to help them and support them by means of data science and data analytics. If we can automate some part of this match preparation process, it can be a huge relief for them. We can do this by capturing tactical principles and identifying video sequences. And thanks to the hardware, software, and available data, we can achieve these goals. So here we have a specific question in this presentation that we want to answer. What is a team's rest defense performance in transitions? And the goal that we have is to develop an automatic and scalable and objective tool that provides feedback to the coaching staff on this specific question. And when we look at the market, there is no software specifically addressing this task, and there has not been any study done before. So this is quite a unique, let's say, question and approach that we are taking to answer this question. First, we need to have a definitions of the concepts that we use. That's why we quantify rest defense and transition principles before introducing the method that we took. This has been done through a literature review and match analyst opinions. So let's see what is a rest defense. Rest defense, or Restverteidigung in German, is a backline defensive shape of a team, and it has different types. And each team, depending on their game model, chooses to maintain a specific type of rest defense. Here, for example, we can see that rest defense is a backline defensive shape of a blue team, and it is different from counter press. So counter press is not a type of rest defense, or it's not included as a kind of rest defense. So as you saw, we are looking for rest defense, and it's in a specific area of the match pitch. That's why we introduced the concept of active area, as this shows that in which area of the pitch that we are looking for the rest defense. To do so, here we assume we have the blue team who are in the ball position. We employ the k-means clustering algorithm with 3 clusters on the x coordinates of the blue team to find their attacking line, midfield line, and defense line. And when we have these 3 lines, we look for the area from the attacking line of the blue team, as you can see here, until the goal line of the red team. So this light green area becomes, let's say, the active area. And we are looking for some properties in this active area to study different rest defense types. But in which periods of the match we are interested in rest defense? We are interested in transition windows. Why in transition windows? And what is a transition window? So why in transition window? Ralph Ragnick tells us that today 60% of the goals scored worldwide are achieved through a transition phase. So that shows the importance of a transition phase. And we take 4 seconds before until 6 seconds after the ball possession change. So we are looking for this window and looking for the rest defense of the team who has already just lost the ball in this window. So where we are looking, so we know the time window, but the ball possession change should happen in the first third of the ball winning team, or as you saw, the blue attacking team in the previous slides. And this possession should also at least last for 3 seconds. So we just want to make sure that something like counter press is excluded from the analysis we do. And then here we introduce different rest defense types. We have, for example, man marking, we have numerical superiority, and we also introduce everything as another category, and we call it other rest defense. So let's see what is man marking. We introduce the active area, and we say each attacking player in the active area is covered by a defending player. which takes a 3-meter distance and is covered within 3-meter distance of the defending player. And this condition should be valid for more than half of the window. So we introduce 10 seconds window, and it should be valid in half of the window at least. And head of the game design at Eintracht Frankfurt, Matthias Bors, says that man marking is the type of rest defense strategy that they want to achieve, and is based on their game model. Here, for example, we can see one example of let's say man marking rest defense. Here, when the white team loses the ball, here they have man marking and they can let's say get the ball. Then the other category is numerical superiority, and it's basically that the defending team has one more player than the opponent teams in the active area. So we are looking only at the active area, and this condition should be valid for more than half of the window. And for example, Mourinho and Bielsa are among the coaches who are, let's say, who believe in this rest defense and want their teams to have numerical superiority. And here we have an example of numerical superiority rest defense for the white team. So here, when the black team wins the ball in their first third of the, let's say, field, as you can see here, there is a +1 in the rest defense of the white team. And any other rest defense that's not man marking and numerical superiority, we define it as other. So as you saw, when the team is not in a good rest defense shape, that can be a kind of other rest defense that falls into that category. So what is the method that we took? We select a team, Eintracht Frankfurt, for example. We select a set of matches after that team, for example, a season. We collect all transition windows in which the team lost the ball. In this case, Frankfurt lost the ball in their first third of the opponent team's field. And then we look for the rest defense times in the windows that we have explained. And we took a rule-based approach. We have developed a tool in Python, which we called it Fort. We used a Google Cloud for the computations. And we used the tracking and event data of the 2018-2019 Bundesliga season and the matches that Eintracht Frankfurt had. And here we can see the tool. For example, it shows that Eintracht Frankfurt had 87% of the times numerical superiority, and only 5% of the times they had, let's say, man marking. And in 8 other percent of the times they had other rest defense, which can be, for example, they were not in a good rest defense and they had a bad defensive shape, for example. So here clearly it is against the game model of Eintracht Frankfurt. Based on our analysis, it says that they are maintaining numerical superiority in transition phases, but what the head of their game design said, they want to have man marking. So this is one of the insights and takeaway messages that we have already. Let's play the demo of the tool. So the user can in the beginning see the summary table and he or she can see if it's aligned with what they expect and what they want. Then they can see over different matches of the season how many times they had man marking, how many times they had numerical superiority, and how many times they had other rest defense. So they can look for different matches, for example, and they can hover over it and see, for example, in this specific match against Nuremberg, they had 3 times, for example, other rest defense, I think. And then we scroll down and we can see, okay, we have some matches with a very high number of red, let's say, color. Here, for example, against the match against Mainz, they had 16 times other rest defense, which can be a sign of bad rest defense. Then the user can say, okay, we are looking for a specific match against Mainz because we had a lot of times other rest defense. We want to see and watch those moments. Then we say, okay, there are 16 moments, and we can see them in the video footage if we have access to the video footage, or you can just see the animation. So here we see the moment, it's the first hour and 47 minutes of the video that we have. And here is when the blue team, which is Mainz, wins the ball. And here you can see there is not a man marking, and there is also not a numerical superiority in the active area, in the light green area. And we can go to the other moment. And this is exactly the tool that we promised in the beginning of the presentation. The user can have an automated and a scalable tool over multiple matches to have access to video sequences. And this is also another moment that you can see here. The player has a red line who connected, means that he's man marked, but not all players are man marked, and they also don't have a numerical superiority. And we have the conclusion. So we introduced U4 and as an automated way to study a team's rest defense performance in transition windows. And we showed you that SG had a numerical superiority 87% of the time and man marking only 5% of the time. That's against their game model based on our analysis. And coaching and staff also can look at these interesting moments in the video and see why they didn't have a good rest defense in specific moments and how they can, let's say, improve their rest. Future work, investigating why SG didn't follow their game model is exactly what SG can take away message be for them. And they can detect different rest defense types in a live setting if we have access to the tracking data and even the data in a live setting. Then we can have, let's say, raised alarms if an end user situation happens. Also, one idea can be to create a Bundesliga-wide ranking to compare different teams in their rest defense performance, different rest defenses, or whether how many times they were in a other rest defense or basically bad rest defense. And yeah, that's our presentation, and thanks very much for your attention.